Good wishes to all of you. 8th class polity, social science, social and political life 3, unit 2, chapter 3. Teachers know this is a continuation of the theme of government that has already been dealt with in the class 6th and 7th textbooks. Hence, a recap of ideas is important, especially those related to elections, representations, and participation. These ideas can be made more clear to students through bringing in actual examples into the classroom. Newspaper and TV reports could be used to facilitate this. Chapter 3 discusses some of the functions of Parliament, these ways in which these connect to the idea of parliamentary democracy need to be emphasized. Hence, it is important to explain the critical role played by citizens and allow students to air views regarding this. At times, students might be cynical about the political process, and your role as a teacher is not to dismiss or agree with them with this cynicism, but rather redirect it towards what the Constitution intends. Chapter 4 is on understanding laws. Children have little exposure to laws. Therefore, they would require more examples from a familiar context. It is through this they can figure out that laws are meant to apply in an equitable manner. The chapter begins by discussing how this rule of law emerged and the ways in which the nationalists opposed the arbitrariness of British laws. The storyboard contained in chapter 4 portrays how a new law comes into being. The focus of this storyboard is not on the process within Parliament. In contrast, the storyboard highlights the important role that people play in transforming an urgent social issue into law. In addition to the law already highlighted, it would be good to discuss another example of a new contemplated law so that students can relate to the role of people in bringing this about. The chapter ends with a section on unpopular laws. These refer to laws that often restrict the fundamental rights of certain populations. History provides us with examples of several groups that protest what they will as unjust laws. Bring in these examples into the classroom to discuss how a law can be unpopular. Allow students to research more examples in the Indian context and debate these in the classroom using the fundamental rights listed in chapter 1 as their yardstick. Chapter 3, Why do we need a parliament? Audiobook. We in India pride ourselves on being a democracy. Here we will try and understand the relation between the ideas of participation in decision making and the need for all democratic governments to have the consent of their citizens. It is these elements that together make us a democracy, and this is best expressed in the institution of the parliament. In this chapter, we will try to see how the Parliament enables citizens of India to participate in decision making and control the government, thus making it the most important symbol of Indian democracy and a key feature of the Constitution. Why should people decide? India, as we know, became independent on 15th August 1947. Preceding this was a long and difficult struggle in which many sections of society participated. People from various backgrounds joined the struggle, and they were inspired by the ideals of freedom, equality, and participation in decision making. Under colonial rule, the people had lived in fear of the British government and did not agree with many of the decisions that they took. But they faced grave danger if they tried to criticize these decisions. The freedom movement changed the situation. The nationalists began to openly criticize the British government and make demands. As far back as 1885, the Indian National Congress demanded that there be elected members in the legislature with a right to discuss the budget and ask questions. The Government of India Act 1909 allowed for some elected representation, while these early legislators under the British government were in response to the growing demands of the nationalists. They did not allow for all adults to vote, nor could people participate in decision making. As you read in chapter 1, the experience of colonial rule as well as the participation of different people in the struggle for freedom left little doubt in the minds of the nationalists that all persons in independent India would be able to participate in making decisions. With the coming of independence, we were going to be citizens of a free country. This did not mean that the government could do what it felt like. It meant that the government had to be sensitive to people's needs and demands. The dreams and aspirations of the freedom struggle were made concentrate in the Constitution of Independent India that laid down the principle of universal adult franchise. That is, that all adult citizens of the country have the right to vote. Take a look at this image. What do you think the artist is trying to convey through the image of parliament on the previous page? Take a look at this image. The above photo shows a voter reading instructions on how to use an electronic voting machine EVM. EVMs were used throughout the country for the first time in the 2004 general elections. The use of EVMs in 2004 saved around 1,50,000 trees which would have been cut to produce about 8,000 tons of paper for printing the ballot paper. Give one reason why you think there should be universal adult franchise. Do you think there would be any difference if the class monitor was selected by the teacher or elected by the students? Discuss. Take a look at this photo. This photo shows election staff using an elephant to carry polling material and EVMs to polling stations located in difficult terrain. People and their representatives. The takeoff point for a democracy is the idea of consent, that is, the desire, approval, and participation of people. It is the decision of people that creates a democratic government and decides about its functioning. The basic idea in this kind of democracy is that the individual or the citizen is the most important person, and that in principle the government as well as other public institutions need to have the trust of these citizens. How does the individual give approval to the government? One way of doing so, as you read, is through elections. People would elect their representatives to the parliament. Then, one group from among these elected representatives forms the government. The parliament, which is made up of all representatives together, controls and guides the government. In this sense, people, through their chosen representatives, form the government and also control it. The above idea of representation has been an important theme in your class 6 and 7 social and political life textbooks. You are familiar with how representatives are chosen at different levels of government. Let us recall these ideas by doing the following exercises. Use the terms constituency and represent to explain who an MLA is and how the person gets elected. Discuss with your teacher the difference between a state legislative assembly, Vidhan Sabha, and the parliament, Lok Sabha. From the list below, identify the work of a state government and that of the central government. The decisions of the Indian government to maintain peaceful relations with China. The decision of the Madhya Pradesh government to discontinue board exams in class 8 for all schools under this board. Introduction of a new train connection between Ajmer and Mysore. Introduction of a new 1,000 rupees note. Fill in the blanks with the following words: universal adult franchise, MLAs, representatives directly. Democratic government in our times are usually referred to as representative democracies. In representative democracies, people do not participate dash but instead choose their dash through an election process. These dash meet and make a decision for the entire population. These days, a government cannot call itself democratic unless it allows what is known as dash. This means that all adult citizens in the country are allowed to vote. You have read that most elected members, whether in the Panchayat or the Vidhan Sabha or the Parliament, are elected for a fixed period of 5 years. Why do we have a system where the representatives are elected for a fixed period and not for life? You have read that people participate in our other ways and not just through elections to express approval or disapproval of the actions of government. Can you describe 3 such ways through a small skit? Take a look at these images. The Parliament of India. Sansad is the supreme lawmaking institution. It has 2 houses, the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha, Council of States, with a total strength of 245 members, is chaired by the Vice President of India. Lok Sabha, House of the People with a total membership of 545, is presided over by the Speaker. The role of the Parliament. Created after 1947, the Indian Parliament is an expression of the faith that the people of India have in principles of democracy. These are participation by people in the decision making process and governed by consent. The Parliament in our system has immense powers because it is the representative of the people. Elections to the Parliament are held in a similar manner as they are for the state legislature. The Lok Sabha is usually elected once every 5 years. The country is divided into numerous constituencies as shown in the map on page 41. Each of these constituencies elects one person to the parliament. The candidates who consent to elections usually belong to different political parties with the help of the table below. Let us understand this further. Use the table alongside to answer the questions below. Who will form the government? Why? Who will be present for discussion in the Lok Sabha? Is this process similar to what you have read about in class 7? The photograph on page 28 shows results from the 3rd Lok Sabha elections held in 1962. Use the photograph to answer the following questions. Which state has the highest number of MPs in the Lok Sabha? Why do you think this is so? Which state has the least number of MPs in the Lok Sabha? Which political party has won the most seats in all states? Which party do you think will form the government? Give reasons why. Results of the 16th Lok Sabha elections May 2014. Political party number of MPs. National parties. Bharatiya Janata Party BJP 282. Communist Party of India CPI 1. Communist Party of India Marxist CPM 9. Indian National Congress INC 44. National Congress Party NCP 6. State parties, regional parties. Aam Aadmi Party AAP 4. All India Anna Dravida Munetra Kajgam 37. All India Trinamool Congress 34. All India United Democratic Front 3. Biju Janata Dal BJD 20. Indian National Lok Dal INLD 2. Indian Union Muslim League IUML 2. Jammu and Kashmir People's Democratic Party 3. Janata Dal Secular 2. Janata Dal United 2. Jharkhand Mukti Morcha JMM 2. Lok Jan Shakti Party 6. Rashtriya Janata Dal RJD 4. Samajwadi Party SP 5. Shiromani Akali Dal 4. Shiv Sena 18. Telangana Rashtra Samiti TRS 11. Telugu Desam TDP 16. Other regional parties 7. Registered unrecognized parties 16. Independents 3. Grand total 543. Results of the 15th Lok Sabha elections May 2009. Political party number of MPs. National parties. Bahujan Samaj Party BSP 21. Bharatiya Janata Party BJP 116. Communist Party of India CPI 4. Communist Party of India Marxist CPM 16. Indian National Congress INC 206. Nationalist Congress Party NCP 9. Rashtriya Janata Dal RJD 4. State parties. Regional parties. All India Anna DMK AIA DMK 9. All India Forward Bloc 2. All India Trinamool Congress 19. Biju Janata Dal BJD 14. Dravida Munitra Kajhagam DMK 18. Jammu and Kashmir National Conference 3. Janata Dal Secular 3. Janata Dal United 20. Jharkhand Mukti Morcha 2. Muslim League Kerala State Committee 2. Revolutionary Socialist Party 2. Samajwadi Party SP 23. Shiromani Akali Dal 4. Shiv Sena 11. Telangana Rashtra Samiti TRS 2. Telugu Desam TDP 6. Other regional parties 6. Registered unrecognized parties 12. Independents 9. Grand total 543. The above table gives you the result of the 15th Lok Sabha elections held in 2009. In these elections, the INC got a large number of seats, but still not enough to emerge as the majority party in the Lok Sabha. It thus had to form a coalition, the United Progressive Alliance UPA, with other political parties who were its allies. Once elected, these candidates become members of parliament or MPs. These MPs together make up the parliament. Once elections to the parliament have taken place, the parliament needs to perform the following functions. To select the national government, Parliament of India consists of the President, the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. After the Lok Sabha elections, a list is prepared showing how many MPs belong to each political party. For a political party to form the government, they must have a majority of elected MPs. Since there are 543 elected plus 2 Anglo-Indian nominated members in Lok Sabha, to have a majority, a party should have at least half the number, that is 272 members or more. The opposition in parliament is formed by all the political parties that oppose the majority party coalition format. The largest amongst these parties is called the opposition party. One of the most important functions of the Lok Sabha is to select the executive. The executive, as you read in chapter 1, is a group of persons who work together to implement the laws made by the parliament. This executive is often what we have in mind when we use the term government. The Prime Minister of India is the leader of the ruling party in the Lok Sabha. From the MPs who belong to her party, the Prime Minister selects ministers to work with her to implement decisions. These ministers then take charge of different areas of government functioning like health, education, finance, etc. Oftentimes, in the recent past, it has been difficult for a single political party to get the majority that is required to form the government. They then join together with the different political parties who are interested in similar concerns to form what is known as a coalition government. Take a look at these images. These two buildings of the Central Secretariat, the South Block and North Block, were built during the 1930s. The photo on the left is of the South Block, which houses the Prime Minister's office PMO, the Ministry of Defence and the Minister of External Affairs. The North Block is the photo on the right, and this has the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Home Affairs. The other ministers of the Union government are located in various buildings in New Delhi. The Rajya Sabha functions primarily as the representative of the State of India in the Parliament. The Rajya Sabha can also initiate legislation, and a bill is required to pass through the Rajya Sabha in order to become a law. It therefore has an important role of reviewing and altering, if alterations are needed, the laws initiated by the Lok Sabha. The members of the Rajya Sabha are elected by the elected members of the legislative assemblies of various states. There are 233 elected members plus 12 members nominated by the President to control, guide and inform the government. The Parliament, while in session, begins with a question hour. The question hour is an important mechanism through which MPs can elicit information about the working of the government. This is a very important way through which the Parliament controls the executive. By asking questions, the government is elected to its shortcomings and also comes to know the opinion of the people through their representative in the Parliament, that is, the MPs. Asking questions of the government is a crucial task for every MP. The opposition parties play a crucial role in the healthy functioning of a democracy. They highlight drawbacks in various policies and programs of the government and mobilize popular support for their own policies. The following is an example of a question asked in Parliament. Lok Sabha. Unstated questions number 48 answered on 15/12/2017. Converge of schemes for children. Manoj Rajoria. Will the Minister of Women and Child Development be pleased to state whether the government proposes to converge various schemes and policies for children in the country? If so, the details therefore, and if not, the reasons therefore. Answer. Minister of State in the Ministry of Women and Child Development, Dr. Virendra Kumar. A to C. The ministry has developed the National Plan of Action for Children 2016, which largely draws upon the existing programs and schemes of various ministers, departments. It provides a framework for convergence and coordination between ministries, departments, and states, UTs, governments, and encourages collective action from all stakeholders to address multi-dimensional vulnerabilities experienced by children. The National Plan of Action for Children 2016 categories categorizes children's rights under four key priority areas: survival, health and nutrition, education and development, protection and participation. It defines key programs, schemes, and policies as well as stakeholders for the implementation of different strategies. In the above question, what information is being sought from the Ministry of Women and Child Development? If you were a member of Parliament MP, list two questions that you would like to ask. The government gets valuable feedback and is kept on its toes by the question asked by the MPs. In addition, in all matters dealing with finances, the Parliament's approval is crucial for the government. This is one of the several ways in which the Parliament controls, guides, and informs the government. The MPs, as representatives of the people, have a central role in controlling, guiding, and informing Parliament, and this is a key aspect of the functioning of Indian democracy. C. Lawmaking. Lawmaking is a significant function of Parliament. We shall read about this in the next chapter. Who are the people in Parliament? Parliament now has more and more people from different backgrounds. For example, there are more rural members as also members from many regional parties. Groups and peoples that were till now unrepresented are beginning to get elected to Parliament. There has also been an increase in political participation from the Dalits and backward classes. Let us look at the following table that shows the percentage of the population who voted in Lok Sabha elections in different years. Lok Sabha election years, voter turnout percent. First, 1951 to 52, 61.16. Fourth, 1967, 61.33. Fifth, 1971, 55.29. Sixth, 1977, 60.49. Eighth, 1984 to 85, 64.01. 10th, 1991 to 92, 55.88. 14th, 2004, 57.98. 15th, 2009, 58.19. 16th, 2014, 66.40. Looking at this table, would you say that people's participation during the past 65 years has decreased, increased, been stable after Indian increase? It has been observed that representative democracy cannot produce a preferred reflection of society. There is a realization that when interests and experiences separate us, it is important to ensure that communities that have been historically marginalized are given adequate representation. With this in mind, some seats are reserved in Parliament for SCs and STs. This has been done so that the MPs elected from these constituencies will be familiar with and can represent Dalit and Adivasi interests in Parliament. Similarly, it has more recently been suggested that there should be reservation of seats for women. This issue is still being debated. 60 years ago, only 4% of MPs were women, and today it is just above 11%. This is a small share when you consider the fact that half the population are women. It is issues of this kind that force the country to ask certain difficult and often unresolved questions about whether our democratic system is representative enough. The fact that we can ask these questions and are working towards answer is a reflection of the strength and the faith that people in India have in a democratic form of government. Take a look at this photo. The above photo shows a few women members of Parliament. Why do you think there are so few women in Parliament? Discuss. Glossary. Approval. To give one's consent to and be favorable towards something. In the context of this chapter, it refers both to the formal consent through elected representatives that Parliament has as well as the fact that it needs to continue to enjoy the people's trust. Coalition, a temporary alliance of groups or parties. In this chapter, it refers to the alliance formed by political parties after elections when no party has been able to get advocate seats to form a clear majority. Unresolved situations in which there are no easy solutions to problems. Exercises. Take a look at this map. Total seats 543, General 4th World, SC 84, ST 47. Why do you think our national movement supported the idea that all adults have a right to vote? In this 2004 map of parliamentary constituencies, alongside roughly identify the constituencies in your state. What is the name of the MP from your constituency? How many MPs does your state have? Why are certain constituencies colored green while others are colored blue? You have read in chapter 1 that the parliamentary form of government that exists in India has three tiers. This include the parliament, central government and the various state governments. Filling the following table with information on the various representatives from your area. State government, central government. Which political parties are currently in power? Who name is the current representative from your area? Which political party is currently from the opposition? When were elections last held? When will the next elections be held? How many women representatives are there from your state? Thank you.